This is The Professionals, a podcast by music business technology and broadcast media technology students on Outcast OCCR Owens Community College Radio. In this series, students will interview industry professionals in their respective fields to help gather an idea of what it's like to work in their industry.
Hello, my name is Landon Ortiz, and I'm a broadcast media technology student here at Owens. I'm joined today by Jay Schell, the head of technology and operations over at WTOL. Thank you for being here, Jay.
Thanks for having me.
Could you tell us a bit about your job and what an average day looks like for you?
Well, the one thing I like about my job is that there is no really average day. It kind of changes based on what we're doing in terms of projects or special productions or anything like that. So generally speaking, my day involves making sure that we're on the air, that all things are running properly, the people in the newsroom and sales have the tools that they need to do their job. Sometimes my day will involve late nights or 12-hour days like last week. It just kind of depends. So there's really no average day, but it's basically just making sure that things are working. And if everything's working, then it might be a quiet day. Otherwise, it's working on projects.
What's like a particularly busy day? Is that project mostly?
There's chaotic days where everything just seems to break at the same time. That usually will cause for a chaotic day. We're in the middle of several projects right now. And so it's a lot of juggling of projects of where are we on this one? Where are we on this one? What's the budget like for that project?
Right.
As the head of technology, it's not like the old school chief engineer, because like 20 years ago, you were more like an engineer and you actually like built things and fixed things. Nowadays, head of technology is more of a manager role. So I oversee a department of people. And so it's managing people, managing timelines and budgets. And it's not exactly what it used to be.
Do you like the technology that you do use, like in your time there, has it like evolved in a way that's like been difficult to adapt to?
Not difficult, but it's definitely evolved. I've been there for 21 years now. I started in 2004. When I started, I was a camera person. So I used to run camera for the studio productions late at night. I would run audio, and then I would work my way up to master control, which is what rolls the brakes, kind of an important role in television. And then worked my way up to a director, and then took on more of an IT role, and then eventually moved into the head of technology role. So I have seen us go from tape machines, literally playing back things on tape, to all file-based, server-based workflows, to now where people can go live on their cell phones, where before it required a whole big live truck. So I've seen in 20 years, I've seen a lot of change for sure.
Talk a bit about jobs you've had in the past before WTOL and like how they led you to like your current position.
Well, most of my previous jobs were your typical like high school, college, washing dishes, that kind of thing. I have a unique background in that my dad was actually an engineer at Channel 30, PBS affiliate. He was there for 42 years. So I grew up in television. My birth was announced the next day on live television. So I've always been around television and always knew how television worked and knew that I wanted to go into television. So, as a kid, I can remember going to work with my dad and running camera or helping him with whatever he was doing. I was kind of uniquely trained, if you will, to do the job that I'm doing now because I grew up in television.
What would you say has been the highlight of your career so far?
Well, getting this job growing up, like I said, I knew about television and I always knew my dad as an engineer and I always knew what people were like. I always knew that television was what I wanted to do. And then I always knew who the chief engineer was because the chief engineer was my dad's boss. And I always thought that would be the cool thing to do, be the boss, be the chief engineer, the guy who knows where every cable goes and where everything works and whatnot. So I always wanted to do that. So I think the day that I got that job was kind of like you've made it, you've reached to that point where it's like everything I've worked for up to this point just paid off. So I guess that'd be my overall highlight, but obviously there's been a lot of highlights throughout the, where it's going to the OSU Michigan game and working that game, or I did some freelance work and I worked at the NBA All-Star game in Cleveland a couple years ago. I was there for 7 days and that's a big production. So like I've had a lot of highlights along the way, but I guess the overarching career highlight, if you will, is getting the job I have now, because that's kind of what I always wanted to work for.
Your freelance jobs that you've had, how do you feel they compare to your job at WTOL?
They're different in ways. They're also similar. The biggest difference is there's no room for error. For example, in 2 weeks, I'm going to go to a high school football game for Spectrum Sports. You show up at 2:00. You've got to be on the air by 7. If it doesn't work, that's on you. There's no one holding your hand. There's no one backing you up. There's not a group of people you've worked with for years. It's kind of I want to say cutthroat, but it's a little bit more stress, a little bit more do or die kind of thing. Whereas my daily job, I have people I've worked with for years. I know all the ins and outs. I know there's people I can call if I need help. Whereas when you do freelance, it's you're kind of out there on your own. They kind of expect you to know your job. Right. And if you don't do it, or you don't do it very well, there's basically a blacklist, and you could get put on a blacklist. And so you don't want that. It's kind of a higher pressure world, which is why I do it. I actually like that high pressure television. Right. And while my day job has pressure moments, they're not the same. There's nothing like knowing that you're live in 5 minutes across the state of Ohio, that there's a problem, you got to fix it. I like that kind of pressure, which is why I do the freelance stuff, just to keep it lively, keep it different. And it's just nice to meet new people and see new things. So my day job doesn't involve me going out a lot. Right. I see the same office. I see the same people every time. So go to do freelance, like football, I'm going to Columbus, and I don't see Columbus very often. So it's nice to get out.
What would you say are like some everyday stresses that you deal with at your job?
There's obviously staying on the air. We don't go off the air all that often, so it's not like that's a big, but it is a constant hey, are we on the air? Is there a problem? Timelines and budgets, and we're regulated by the FCC, so there's compliancy things like, hey, is the closed captioning working? Was there an incident we need to report? Are the tower lights working? There are lots of things that you got to just make sure of. Day to day, the pressure probably is just mostly making sure that things are working and that you're meeting the timelines and budgets that you're given.
Do you have any upcoming projects you'd like to speak of?
There's a couple of things we're working on that we can't necessarily talk about, but I'm getting a new intercom system, which will be fun because we have not had a new intercom system in 20 years. So I get to put one in. So that's kind of a interesting thing to see, because I've worked with our current intercom system, but putting a brand new one in, obviously there's new technology and new stuff. So that'll be fun. Yeah. And we just got done with a big network upgrade. So we replaced 20 network switches. Some of our switches were pretty old. So the network, so we went from 1 gig to 10 gig or 10 gig to 25 gig. We did a huge network upgrade last week. That was 3 12-hour days. That was pretty stressful, if you will, and just long, But that was kind of the last big project I worked on that I can talk about.
What's one piece of advice that you would give somebody who would like to have a job similar to yours?
Get involved early. Whether it's college radio, whether it's whatever it is, get involved and don't be afraid to try something. I see a lot of people who want to do things and then they get involved and they're like, oh, maybe that's not exactly what I wanted to do. And I see a lot of people changing majors, or I see people changing careers. Right. And I think if you get involved and you put in the time, then you'll learn quickly whether or not this is for you or not. And that'll help you make a decision, long term. It also looks really good because why resumes are important, what you can do and what you can show goes a long way.
For sure. Well, thank you for speaking with me, Jay. I'm Landon Ortiz, here with Jay Schell, and this has been the Industry Professionals Podcast.
This has been the Professionals Podcast by Music Business Technology and Broadcast Media Technology students. Join us next time on Outcast OCCR Owens Community College Radio.